All right, everyone, get ready because today we are going deep into the world of cold therapy.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about cryotherapy,
Mm-hmm.
contrast therapy, and basically all the cool ways that these things can impact your health and well-being.
It's pretty amazing how these therapies sort of tap into our body's like primal responses to cold.
Yeah,
It's almost like a biological reset button, you know?
it is. And we're going to be using Andrew Bromley's book,
Right.
Cryotherapy and Contrast Therapy, as our guide for this deep dive.
Sounds good.
And he goes really deep into the science.
Yeah.
But he also offers a lot of practical tips for how we can incorporate cold exposure into our routine.
So one of the things that I find really fascinating is how cold kind of acts as a hormetic stressor.
Okay.
You know, similar to exercise or fasting, these short bursts of cold can actually trigger adaptations that make us more resilient.
So instead of avoiding the cold, we should be embracing it.
I think so.
What's the mechanism behind this toughening up effect?
Well, you can think of it as like a challenge to your body
Okay.
that activates specific genetic pathways. And those pathways ultimately enhance our ability to cope with stress in general.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's like a boot camp for your cells, you know,
Right.
just preparing them for whatever life throws our way.
So it's not just about numbing pain or reducing swelling.
Right.
We're talking about like a systemic effect on our resilience.
Exactly. For example, you know, cold exposure triggers a surge in norepinephrine,
Okay.
which is a neurotransmitter that plays a really important role in our focus, attention, and mood.
Bromley mentions that just 4 minutes of exposure to 14 degrees Fahrenheit
Wow.
can boost norepinephrine levels by over 500%.
That's incredible.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Imagine the potential for improving concentration
Right.
during like a workday or even managing symptoms of depression.
Yeah. I mean, and the colder the temperature, the
Right.
less time it takes to trigger that release.
Wow.
But of course, safety is paramount. We need to be mindful of the risks
Yeah.
associated with extreme, like hypothermia.
So how can we safely incorporate cold exposure, especially for those of us who,
Yeah.
aren't exactly polar bear material?
Right. Well, gradual adaptation is key.
Okay.
You know, start with something simple, like ending your regular warm shower with a blast of cold water for 30 seconds,
Okay.
and then gradually decrease the temperature and increase the duration as your body adapts.
So it's like building up our cold tolerance over time.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I remember reading about the Finnish tradition of alternating sauna
Oh, yeah.
with ice plunges.
Yeah.
They've been doing this for centuries, and some studies even suggest a potential link to longevity.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
This traditional practice might offer insights into the long-term benefits
Right.
of incorporating contrast therapy into our modern lives.
Yeah, okay, let's shift gears and talk about the specific benefits of cold therapy for athletes. We all know that applying ice is standard practice for sports injuries,
Right.
but why is it so effective?
Well, ice acts as a really powerful analgesic and anti-inflammatory agent.
Okay.
It slows down nerve conduction speed, which reduces pain signal transmission. It also constricts blood vessels, which limits swelling and inflammation in the injured area.
So it's not just masking the pain, it's actually addressing the underlying inflammation.
Precisely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this pause button effect, could that be useful for managing chronic conditions like arthritis too?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And while more research is needed,
Okay.
there's definitely potential there.
Okay.
By controlling inflammation, cold therapy could potentially play a role in managing a variety of inflammatory conditions.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Bromley also highlights the importance of proper ice application. 20 minutes on, then 2 to 3 hours off.
Yeah,
Repeating throughout the first 48 hours after an injury.
that's right.
It's like a targeted approach to controlling inflammation and promoting healing.
Exactly.
Now, this is where things get interesting for those of us who hit the gym regularly.
Okay.
Bromley suggests that cold water immersion might not be ideal immediately after weightlifting. What's the science behind that?
Well, studies suggest that cold exposure right after strength training could potentially hinder muscle growth
Interesting.
by suppressing the expression of certain genes and proteins that are crucial for muscle recovery and adaptation.
So it's like hitting the brakes on our muscle building efforts.
Yeah, it can be.
That's a bit counterintuitive considering
I know.
cold therapy is often touted for recovery.
It is, but remember timing is key.
Right.
Instead of jumping into an ice bath right after your workout, consider delaying cold exposure by a few hours or scheduling it for non-training days.
Okay.
This way you can reap the benefits of cold therapy
Right.
without potentially compromising your hard-earned gains.
So strategically timing our cold exposure could be the key to optimizing both recovery and muscle growth.
Exactly.
Wow.
It's about understanding how our bodies respond to these stimuli and finding that sweet spot where we maximize the benefits. Now, speaking of recovery, let's dive into the world of contrast therapy.
It's the hot and cold plunge routine that's been gaining popularity. What exactly is going on in our bodies when we alternate between these temperature extremes?
Well, contrast therapy, unlike cryotherapy, involves a less extreme temperature range, typically between 104 and 122 degrees Fahrenheit for hot, and 54 to 68 degrees for cold.
So a comfortably hot bath and a bracing cold plunge.
Exactly.
That sounds a bit more manageable than sub-zero temperatures.
Yeah.
But what are the benefits of this temperature roller coaster, and why is it particularly good for our joints and muscles?
Well, imagine this as you immerse yourself in hot water. Your blood vessels dilate, increasing blood flow to your muscles and tissues.
Then when you switch to cold water, your blood vessels constrict. This alternating dilation and constriction acts like a pump.
Oh, wow.
Efficiently flushing out metabolic waste products and delivering oxygen and nutrients to your muscles and joints.
So it's like a turbocharged recovery system.
Precisely.
Promoting circulation and healing.
Exactly.
And while more research is needed, there's evidence suggesting that contrast therapy can be beneficial for conditions like osteoarthritis. Possibly due to its ability to reduce inflammation and improve joint mobility.
That's right.
Now, Bromley also mentions that contrast therapy can have a significant impact on stress levels. He cites a study where young men experienced a nearly 50% reduction in the stress hormone cortisol after a sauna and cold plunge routine.
That's pretty impressive.
That's impressive. But how does this hot-cold dance actually influence our hormonal response?
Well, that's a great question.
Yeah.
The exact mechanisms are still being studied.
But it seems that the combination of heat-induced relaxation and cold-induced stimulation triggers a cascade of hormonal and neurological responses that ultimately lead to a reduction in cortisol levels.
So it's like a way to reset your stress response system.
Yeah, you could think of it that way. And the benefits seem to extend beyond just a temporary reduction in stress.
Oh, wow.
In a randomized controlled trial with 4,000 volunteers, many continued contrast therapy after the study concluded, reporting sustained improvements in energy levels and overall well-being.
So contrast therapy might be a key to unlocking both physical and mental resilience.
It certainly seems that way.
Wow.
And you don't need a fancy spa to experience these benefits.
Oh, okay.
Even something as simple as a contrast shower, alternating between hot and cold water, for a few cycles can be incredibly invigorating and beneficial for circulation.
That's great news. It sounds like a simple yet powerful way to boost our health and well-being.
It is. And it's a perfect example of how we can tap into the power of our body's natural responses to improve our lives.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've talked about pain management, faster recovery, and even stress reduction. But there's more,
There is.
Let's talk about cold and its potential impact on our immune systems.
This is where it gets really fascinating. Studies show that regular cold exposure can actually increase your white blood cell count.
Okay, back up for a sec. Remind me, why do I care about white blood cells?
Think of white blood cells as your immune system's front line. They're constantly patrolling, searching for and eliminating anything that could cause you to get sick.
Gotcha. So more white blood cells mean a stronger defense system?
Precisely.
Okay.
And cold exposure seems to be like a training ground for your immune system.
It's interesting.
Making it more alert and responsive.
So those chilly showers might actually help us fight off those pesky winter bugs.
That's the idea.
I'm starting to see why the Finnish sauna and ice plunge tradition has stuck around for so long.
Yeah. There's even evidence that cold exposure can enhance the activity of natural killer cells, which are a type of white blood cell that target and destroy harmful invaders like cancer cells.
Whoa, that's some serious immune-boosting power.
It is.
Is there anything else cold exposure does for the immune system?
Well, research is ongoing, but some studies suggest that cold therapy can reduce overall inflammation in the body. And we know that chronic inflammation is a key factor in many diseases.
So it's not just about acute injuries or immediate relief. Cold therapy could potentially play a role in preventing or managing conditions like arthritis, heart disease, even Alzheimer's.
Potentially, yeah.
It's fascinating how something as simple as cold exposure can have such wide-ranging effects on our health.
It really highlights how interconnected our body systems are.
Yeah.
And speaking of interconnectedness, let's move on to another fascinating area of research, cold and sleep.
Cold and sleep. That seems like a very unlikely pair.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah. Tell me more.
Well, remember we talked about cold exposure increasing norepinephrine?
Yes, that neurotransmitter that gives us focus and energy. You're going to tell me that it also helps us sleep better.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Wow.
Norepinephrine also plays a crucial role in regulating our sleep-wake cycle.
Okay.
By increasing norepinephrine levels, cold exposure might promote more restful sleep.
So instead of a warm bath before bed, I should be taking a cold shower.
It's possible.
That's counterintuitive, but I'm willing to give it a try.
Yeah.
Has there been any research to support this?
Actually, yes.
Really?
One study found that people who took a cold shower before bed fell asleep faster and woke up feeling more refreshed.
Okay, I'm convinced.
Good.
Are there any other explanations for why cold might improve sleep quality?
Yeah, another factor could be that cold exposure lowers your core body temperature.
Okay.
Which naturally happens as you fall asleep.
Mm-hmm.
By cooling down your body, you might be sending a signal to your brain that it's time to wind down for the night.
So it's like we're hacking our body's natural sleep mechanism.
Exactly.
And I've always heard that a cooler bedroom temperature is better for sleep anyway.
Right.
So embracing the cold might be a natural way to enhance both our sleep and immune function.
It seems that way.
It's like we're discovering a hidden language of the body, and cold is one of the keys to unlocking its potential.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
There's still so much to learn, but it's clear that cold exposure can have profound effects on both our physical and mental well-being.
This deep dive has definitely opened my eyes.
Good.
I'm ready to ditch my warm blanket and jump into an ice bath. Just kidding. I'm going to start slow. But I am feeling inspired to incorporate more cold exposure into my routine.
That's great.
Yeah.
And speaking of incorporating cold, I think it's a perfect time to transition to the next part of our deep dive, where we'll explore some practical tips and strategies for harnessing the power of cold safely and effectively.
Stay tuned, listeners, because we're about to get chilly.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've spent a lot of time talking about the incredible benefits of cold therapy. It's like pain relief, faster recovery, immune system boost, and even better sleep.
Right.
But let's get down to the practical stuff. How can we actually safely incorporate these techniques into our daily lives?
That's the key question, right?
Right.
You want to harness the power of the cold, but do it wisely.
Right.
So let's start with cryotherapy.
Okay.
Those whole body chambers that blast you with sub-zero temperatures.
Yeah, those look intense.
They are.
I'm intrigued, but also a bit intimidated.
Yeah.
What's the best way to approach cryotherapy, especially for a newbie like me?
Well, it's definitely not something to just jump into.
Okay.
Cryotherapy involves extremely cold temperatures,
Yeah.
usually around negative 200 degrees Fahrenheit.
Wow.
So you want to find a reputable facility with trained professionals. They'll assess your health history and make sure cryotherapy is a good fit for you.
Safety first, for sure.
Exactly.
But what about those of us who want to start incorporating cold therapy at home?
Right.
Any tips for, like, dipping our toes into the chilly water, so to speak?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Cold showers are a fantastic starting point.
Okay.
Begin by gradually decreasing the water temperature over time.
Okay.
Even just 30 seconds of cold exposure can be beneficial.
Wow.
And as you get used to it, you can increase the duration or try colder temperatures.
I've actually been trying those contrast showers
Oh, yeah.
that Bromley recommends.
Uh-huh.
Alternating between hot and cold water for a few cycles
Nice.
is incredibly invigorating.
That's great to hear.
Yeah.
Contrast showers are a wonderful way to stimulate circulation.
Right.
Get those blood vessels working.
Yeah.
And you can adjust the temperatures and the duration of each cycle
Okay.
to fit your comfort level.
Right.
So it's like having a personalized cold therapy spa right in your bathroom.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, I know some people swear by cold water immersion.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on cold baths or ice plunges?
Cold water immersion can be very effective,
Okay.
but it's important to approach it gradually.
Right.
Start with short immersions in water that's above 60 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay.
You can gradually decrease the temperature and increase the duration as your body adapts.
So baby steps into the cold plunge.
Exactly.
It says, what about cold water swimming?
Okay.
I've seen those groups taking dips in the ocean even during winter.
Right.
It looks exhilarating, but also a bit daunting.
Cold water swimming is definitely an amazing activity,
Okay.
but it requires careful preparation and a strong emphasis on safety.
Okay.
Never swim alone. And always start with short immersions in water that's not too cold.
Mm-hmm.
Pay close attention to how your body feels.
Okay.
If you start to feel too cold, numb, or tingly, get out of the water immediately.
Gotcha.
And always make sure you have a way to warm up slowly afterward.
Okay, great advice. It sounds like the key takeaway here is to listen to our bodies.
Yes.
And not push ourselves too far too fast.
Absolutely.
Now, in terms of incorporating cold therapy into our routine, is there an ideal frequency?
That's a good question.
Like, should we be doing this every day, a few times a week? What's your take?
It really depends on your individual goals and tolerance.
Oh.
Some people find benefit from daily cold exposure, while others might prefer a few times a week.
Okay.
Experiment and find what works best for you. Consistency is key.
Mm-hmm.
The more you expose yourself to cold, the more your body will adapt.
So it's all about finding that sweet spot where we're challenging ourselves.
Yes.
But also respecting our body's limits.
Exactly.
I love that approach.
That's the beauty of cold therapy.
Yeah.
It can be tailored to fit your individual needs and preferences.
Right.
And as we've discussed, the potential benefits are truly remarkable.
This deep dive has been eye-opening.
Good.
I'm ready to embrace the chill and see what transformations await.
I'm excited for you to embark on this journey.
Yeah.
Remember, even small steps can lead to significant changes.
Well said. And to our listeners, we hope this deep dive has inspired you to explore the fascinating world of cold therapy.
Yeah.
We'd love to hear about your experiences. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay cool.